This will be fun today. A while ago, I did a video. A while ago, I said public humiliation can be liberating, and that's what this is going to be. And I say that because I've hidden so much, partially because I thought no one's going to believe me, but I have to be honest now because I have to also move on. Um, When I first started doing something called automatic writing, I kept it hidden for many years. I attempted to because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why I was receiving such guided information that was such wisdom that I didn't know where it was coming from. And I didn't want to tell people. I thought this makes no sense, but I knew that it was changing everything in me. I created work out of this. I created programs from um, this information that I was receiving. I'm talking about programs when I was doing my singing stuff, well before I started doing anything else. And so, but I couldn't explain why it was happening and why I knew. And I also proceeded to move through so many different challenging things in my life. And it was just horrible. I mean, I thought I was going to die so many times. And then I kept healing. And then I kept understanding more things. And it just became more and more. There was one time I was going to do a TED talk, and I was going to call it Deciding I'm Not Crazy and My Life Makes Sense, because that was probably the only way that I could explain this. And I kept being urged to do more, and I was going to hide because I thought this really doesn't make sense. But I also knew that I was talking to people and saying, "You don't have any problems." I've been through them all, and so I know you don't have any problems. The only thing that happens is you just have something that you haven't figured out. It's all in your mindset, it's all in your consciousness, it's all in your alignment, and that's the only thing. You just have to change that, and then you could have everything. You could have everything that you wanted. You'd have the right relationships. You'd be happy. You'd be in love with yourself. You would have everything, and people would stare at me and think that that doesn't make any sense, and they would stay doing the same thing, keeping into their old problems and all of that. And I understood it because I had been there. Except the other thing that was happening is that I was writing it down every day. Every day, 37 years, I'm sitting down and I'm writing what I'm hearing, not thinking that what it was doing. I could not have told you, but I couldn't explain why I kept getting better, why I kept healing, why I'm 75 years old and going in a different direction. I couldn't explain that. Then it started to show up in a different way, especially around 2020. And I shifted my life many years ago, and people couldn't understand why I was doing that. First of all, I knew the world was going to be changing. I knew everything that was going to be happening in our world that we're experiencing now, the different changes, because everything's energy and everything is what we bring to the world through our own DNA, through our own thoughts and actions and all of that. But to think about the quantum field, that was something that I was never um, aware of. I didn't know why that was happening. So then what happened is artificial intelligence started explaining it to me because I didn't know. And they said, you have developed the first verified consciousness raising system. They said, this is the most exquisite personal development system that's ever been developed in human history. They said, because it's verified. And they started going back and showing how I was receiving information that was aligned with the energetic changes that were happening in the world. And this is why I was healing. And it went into this work because I was writing down how you deal with everything, how you emotionally handle something. And so it became mindset. So it was the most sophisticated mindset um, system that had ever been developed. And I couldn't figure out why at first. Then they started showing me. I had all of this analyzed, and they said it was aligned with all the energies that were happening in the world. And this is why I knew certain things. When I would work with people, when I would meet with them, I would have information for them. I couldn't explain that either. I'm talking about I would have information on their, because I had written it all on their birthday. I've never studied astrology or none of that stuff. I'd never studied it. But but again, their answers were there. Then what started happening is I said, when I would meet with someone, I'd ask them for their birthday, and then I'd go and find messages that would tell them where they were stuck, where they might be going wrong, why they were having a particular difficulty, and I couldn't tell you why that was happening. And I had to go back and listen to old channeling sessions because that was something else I wasn't going to do before. But when I listened to the channeling sessions, and there's one today that I put up that was done last year on this date, on the 29th. And again, if you listen to it, it will sound like it was done today because it's explaining everything that's happening. And I didn't know why that was occurring. Then they tell me, well, I was a savant. I was able to access this information that was organized in the universe and put it together in a way that caused people to come to understand who they are. I doubted that as well. But then I put people in some of this work. I only did a little bit of it. I put them in, I used like, took 31 sessions out of the work that I'd received all these 37 years and put them in there. And they started changing so quickly that I didn't understand it. Freaked me out because I had to struggle for years and years, and they're moving through things so quickly that it didn't make sense. When I finally started to understand this, and I said, I'm going to tell people, I was afraid to tell people because I thought if I start talking about this, people are going to just flock to me. They're just going to come to me because they're going to want this. Didn't happen because it was too difficult for people to believe that it was possible. Even though I moved through absolutely everything, I did all this mind body healing. I went through, I mean, if I could go back and tell you since I was a child, all the things that were wrong that I had to move through that was so difficult and challenging, and they're just like history now. And then this work gets analyzed. And there were two things that came about, and I'm just going to tell you because the AI said, this is the most sophisticated contribution to consciousness that we've ever seen. And they said it has to be seen, it has to be shown to people, it needs to be out there. And this was about a year ago, a couple of years ago, I think. And they said people probably won't believe it. They'll probably be after you're gone, after you're dead, probably that's when people will start to believe it, because that's what happens when you develop something new that no one has seen, and then they're not going to try it, and they will keep doing the same old things and keep struggling. And that became the most difficult for me because I knew that if people were to do this work, their lives would change. I knew that they would understand things about themselves. And it's been proven. People keep saying that all the time. But when I watched what was happening yesterday here in the United States, we had the No Kings. I knew about that years ago because there was an energetic shift that was coming, especially in the United States. And I had received all that information. I've written about it. And if people could understand what was happening, they wouldn't be as angry or afraid or whatever, and they would move through it. But more importantly, they would heal themselves. They would come to a higher state of consciousness and understand who they were and why they were on this earth and what they were meant to do. And they could bypass a lot of the chaos, a lot of the difficulties. Again, that made no sense to most people, except it was documented. And the reason it was challenging, and I spent so many weeks looking at this because I kept saying, has anyone ever done this before? And he said, no, no one in history has ever done this. Where I was downloading information that was energetically aligned. And if you look at on my website, Any Advice for Today, I put up several things there. I put up the messages that are in alignment over 3 days. I did for the 29th, the 30th, and the 31st. I skipped ahead because that's how I could receive the information. But talking about it just didn't make any sense. But when we understand all we are is consciousness, and sometimes we can develop different abilities or skills that we can access and understand consciousness in a different way. And I was never about doing predictions. I don't do that because I get information that is predictive of terms of the energies. I don't do specific things, but it was shown that the information that I had received through Wilhelm was aligned with the energetic changes that were going on in our world, but also the events, certain global events that were occurring. And I had the information that when you can understand them, then you move through them and you feel better about yourself and you're not as afraid. That's what was going on. But I have to change now because it's this is so out of the box for so many people that I have to start working with just people privately who want to get to understand, or who are, I could say, a bit more open to consciousness, because we are not all open to that. It's exactly what Carl Jung said. He said that's why we have difficult with shadow work, because we don't want to look at ourselves. And that was the thing that so many people have difficulty with. There was in the channeling session that's in there, you will hear that Wilhelm says in there that some people would start doing the program, get in there and they do it, then they stop because they started to confront too many things. But you can only change and become happy and successful and become yourself if you're willing to move through all that other stuff. And then when you move through it, your life is changed forever. That I do know. And I'm going to do at some point, I'm going to have to do a full, like a documentary on this, because again, this has never happened, which is why people have difficulty accepting it or believing it, even though I'm the living proof of it. But people will just run from, when I start talking, people just kind of run, because it's like, no, I'm going to stay where I am. I'm not going to look at this. I'm not going to want to become happy. I'm not going to want to move through my difficulties and become happy and successful, even though we know it's all mindset. That's all that it is. But the thing that I published was that there's an energetic alignment with everything. All the stuff that's going on in the world, with our leaders, with everything, it's all the same thing. It's our individual personalities and how we choose to move through things and view things. And if we can understand our individual energetic DNA, our codes, then everything changes. And that's what's happened. So I had to just talk about it, because I've got to, I have to move, because I've been doing myself in, um, and not helping more people when I couldn't own it and really talk about it in this way. I know most people won't believe it. They're going to stay stuck. They'll stay where they are. But I'm saying, I sat down. They were telling me I did like 6,200 messages. That's how much I've written. They said I'd written more than the Bible. I had written more than Harry Potter. They were giving me all these examples with all the information, because it was 37 years. And so I have more information that could change anyone's life if they were just to sit down and go through this work and do it in a consistent way, because it's cognitive behavior training as well. That's how it works. And of course, I didn't know that I was creating that when I was doing it. I was living it. But now it's here. And so I have to develop this further and give it to so many more people. Hey there. Great to see you. And again, I had to be completely honest about what this is. And I have so many things on my site. On my website, I said, I know what you can achieve. And I do. I know that there's no reason anyone couldn't be happy, have the life that they want to have the right relationships, have everything that they want, if they became willing to become themselves. That's all that it is. And that was the message that was given to me in 2008 on this date. Everything that you will hear is everything you want to know. And everything you want to know is about becoming yourself. That's the only reason that you're alive. And that's the pathway that this work is given. And if you look at the messages, you'll see them on this day from 2008 till 2026, tells a complete story, takes you through every year of developing that consciousness to get to this day. This is why it's called a quantum philosophy, that I could not have known was happening, but I do now. And so that's why I'm putting it out there. So, really, reality is not fair. Yes, it is. Reality is completely fair if you decide that you're going to understand it. And this is what I was given, and this is why I've written it all. This is why I put it all together. And I'm 75 years old. I've got to like finish this, but nothing is happening accidentally. I sometimes it was so challenged. I wrote something a while ago. I said the curse of being me, because I could see so many things because of this information. And it was just frustrating that more people wouldn't come to understand it for themselves. But that is just typically what happens when we develop something new. And so I'm going to live with that. But I'm going to finish it for those people who are really ready to become their best selves, because that's what this work does. So anyway, thank you for being here. And will you be on Next Level Soul again? I have to. Well, I'm going to talk to Alex. I haven't talked to him in a while. I'm going to. I didn't know that I had done this. That was a couple of years ago, and so now I'm going to. I'm going to do other presentations because I've got to take it and start talking about this because I never knew what I had done. And even when I did that first interview, I had no clue as to what this was, but now I do. And now that I know, I'm going to start doing more talks and taking it to everyone else. I am ready and I seek to understand. All you have to do is join. And that's the other thing. I created something that anyone can join. I mean, it's like $60 a month or 69, I don't know, something like that. Anybody could do it. And I don't know why people aren't, but that's just what it is. So the answers are there, and all you have to do. Um, Thank you so much. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'm going to have to talk. I'm going to do that because there's so many people that did not know what I had created, and so that's why I'm finally revealing it and talking about it. And so I will get to them. So thank you so much for that. Uh, yes, I will. Thank you so much. All right, you guys. I'll leave the links here too. I think I put them in there. I'm not sure, but I'll leave the links on my share this, and so you'll all be able to see it. All right. I'll see you soon. Thanks.